Can you see the screen that I'm sharing?
Yes, sir, I can see.
This is what we discussed. All right. The last thing we discussed was about the structure of sperm, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. So it's you and me. I don't know, others have not joined yet, but let's talk about basically the testes and the spermatogenesis. So tell me quickly about what did we discuss about the primary sexual organ, testis. Just a brief recap.
Sorry, sir.
Just a brief recap. What did we discuss about the primary sexual organ, which is testis? Like, I just want you to summarize the last class from here, not the full class, but from testes and spermatogenesis. Are you there?
Yes, sir. Sir, can you wait 1 minute?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yes, sir. So the testis is a dual organ. Yeah, it is responsible for spermatogenesis and also acts as an endocrine gland for testosterone.
Yes.
So the control of the male system is from hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is releasing in inhibitory hormones, and then hypothalamus inhibits the pituitary gland to secrete two hormones, that is FSH and LH, that is follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone. Follicle stimulating hormone initiates spermatogenesis, and the luteinizing hormone initiates the secretion of testosterone. And then luteinizing hormone also helps in spermatogenesis and induces the secondary sexual characters.
Testosterone helps in spermatogenesis. Okay. Not the
Okay. Okay, sir.
luteinizing hormone goes to the testes and tells the testes or sends the signal that start releasing testosterone. And testosterone, remember, FSH started the initiated the spermatogenesis, right? It alone cannot continue to hold spermatogenesis forever, like alone. So for that you need a local hormone. It's like some hormone is coming from the brain, right? FSH and LH are coming from the brain. Yes, Atif? And we have also Dania joining in. Dania, am I audible to you and visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Yes. We are just discussing the last class. Atif is giving a summary. So FSH comes from the brain. So we need, so it's just simple, right? If you have to increase the efficacy of any work happening in biology or any signaling process, you would not like something from distant to keep coming all the time. If you can induce something locally, that can help a lot, right? So it's like if you have to go and get some work done somewhere in some other place or other country, you would like someone local with you, right? Yes or no? So testosterone is secreted by testes and it goes and helps FSH and in spermatogenesis. And most importantly, it also is responsible for all the secondary sexual characters. Yes, right, Atif. Now come to spermatogenesis quickly. What did we discuss about spermatogenesis?
So the formation of sperms is known as spermatogenesis. Spermatogenesis takes place in the seminiferous tubules of testis.
Yes.
So the spermatogenesis starts with the primordial germ cells, which develops and divides to form spermatogonia. Then spermatogonia develop to form primary spermatocytes, and then they divide. They undergo first meiotic division to form secondary spermatocyte. Then the secondary spermatocyte undergoes the second meiotic division to form spermatids, and then spermatids develop into sperm.
Yes, right. And with respect to the seminiferous tubule, from which, like, where does this spermatogenesis happens, like the more mature sperm is towards the lumen, right? So it happens from the wall towards the lumen. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, right. And then we discussed about the structure of sperm, for which let me go to Dania. Dania, there. Would you like to summarize the what we discussed about the structure and anatomy of the sperm as a gamete? Dania, am I audible to you?
Yes, sir. Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, I'm asking, would you like to summarize these what we discussed about the sperm, the structure of sperm, different parts of it?
Yes, sir. We discussed that this sperm consists of a head, neck, and tail. Um
And
uh,
take the help from the board. Can you see what's there on your screen?
yes, sir.
And acrosome, nucleus.
The head has the acrosome, the nucleus, and the centriole. The neck consists of the mitochondria series. And the tail helps in the movement of the sperm.
What is the energy source for a spermatozoa?
The mitochondria.
Yes, that's when it's moved. And but what is the nutrient on which it relies? Which sugar it relies on?
Um,
Which sugar we rely on? All our cells rely on for metabolism and production of energy. So inside mitochondria, what is happening? Remember, class 11th, we do glycolysis and then electron transport chain to produce ATPs.
yes, sir.
And electron transport chain, ETC, takes place in the inner membrane of the mitochondria. So that's what mitochondria are for. But what do we put as fuel in our cells where we start this whole respiration process? What is the fuel for our cell? Why do you eat food? What basically it gets converted into at the end? Yes, Hanifa.
Glucose.
Glucose. Yes, perfect. So, and what does sperms rely on? Do they also rely on glucose, Hanifa? Any idea, Dania?
No, sir.
Okay, so write down. So for sperms, the source of energy is fructose. They rely on fructose. They are the only cells in a human body which utilize fructose over glucose for their energy production. Okay, so you can write down sperms utilize fructose to produce energy. Is it clear? Okay, everyone? Hanifa, Dania, and Atif?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So let's start writing certain things about the male reproductive system, which we have discussed. Have I dictated you about the glands and the ducts of the male reproductive system? Please check. We have done that, or is it left? The glands.
Sorry, sir.
Have we done the glands of the male reproductive system? Have I dictated you about the glands associated, or is it left?
No, sir. I don't think we.
Okay. So write down glands of male reproductive system. So let's go up and let's start from the figure. So you can see here, yes, in this figure, what are the glands which are associated? Can you see this? The first gland that is associated in the male reproductive system is the seminal vesicle, right? Then the prostate, and then the bulbourethral glands. These three glands secrete something that produces or helps in giving rise to the semen, the fluid in which these sperms are transported to the female tract. Okay, so we'll be studying about these glands now. So write down. Let's start with the first, which is the seminal vesicle. Write down first, seminal vesicles. Now, because they are the first and also very important, the most important ones. So there are few things that you need to know first. There is a fluid known as semen in which sperms are present during ejaculation. So this fluid has like almost multiple roles. It takes care of the sperm, provides the sperm with factors that are important for its motility, its well-being, its health in general, its viability. It also protects it from acidic environment. So clearly this semen is alkaline, okay? And it is a mixture of secretions from all these three glands. But what is the contribution of each gland, that we are going to study now, okay? So write down, seminal vesicles, they are in pair. They are one pair, which means there are two seminal vesicles, and they are present posterior to the urinary bladder. Anterior, posterior, everyone understands?
Yes.
What does posterior means?
Behind.
Yes, right. So lateral is from the side, frontal, sagittal, then there is anterior, posterior, and also dorsal and ventral. You understand dorsal and ventral also? So it is always with respect to, if it is with respect to the organ, then then anterior, posterior, ventral or dorsal is with the organ. But with respect to the organism like human, so this is anterior where our brain is towards, and our feet is posterior, okay? So our axis anterior posterior is, anterior is where most of the sensory organs of any organism is present. So if you make a human lie down on the floor, where are most of the sensory organs present? In the head, right? So in this small fitted case, we have lots and lots of sensory organs: eyes, ears, taste buds, olfactory, like nose for olfactory, and brain, right? Yes or no?
Yes.
That is our anterior. And we always, and the rest is posterior, okay? Towards the feet, as we go towards our legs, it is posterior. Now, ventral and dorsal. Dorsal is the side of the body that faces the sky when an organism is standing on all its appendages. So how many appendages do humans have? 4, right? Now we are bipedal, so we can stand erect, and we can use 2 of the appendages as hands and 2 as leg. The concept of hands and feet is only applicable to bipedals, which can stand straight. Do you understand? For all other organisms which are not bipedal, which are like tetrapedal, for them all the 4 appendages act like legs. They walk with all the 4, like a horse, a cattle, a cat, a dog. Do you understand? Is it clear, everyone? And whenever you have to figure out which is the dorsal side, you first have to put the organism on all the appendages which it have. So if you put a human on all the appendages, then the side which will be facing upwards the sky will be dorsal. So our back will be facing the sky, correct? Yes or no? You understand that is dorsal, the back is dorsal, where the spinal cord is, vertebral column is in humans. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. So write down one pair present posterior to the urinary bladder. Next, each gland, each seminal vesicle has a short duct. Each gland has a short duct of its like itself. Short duct that joins with the vas deferens. That joins with the vas deferens. You remember vas deferens, everyone? Which is coming out of epididymis and going all the way up, and then joining with seminal vesicle duct. Okay, so each seminal vesicle has a short duct that joins with the vas deferens and write down forms the ejaculatory duct. And forms the ejaculatory duct. So if they ask you what is the ejaculatory duct, it is the union of vas deferens with the short duct of seminal vesicle. Now this is the point. If I show you in the diagram, it's here. So if you see here, this is the point where it is joining. So this is seminal vesicle and this is the vas deferens coming and it's joining somewhere here, right? And this point onwards there is no return. So this is the commitment point, no point of return from here, and that's why it's called ejaculatory duct, because this duct is responsible for the process of ejaculation. Okay, and once sperms reaches this point, they always will be ejaculated out from the reproductive system. It cannot be reversed back. Is it clear? Now let's talk about what it forms, secretion. So this is about its structure and position. For every gland we will do the same. We will learn first this and then we'll learn about the secretion and the function. So write down secretion and function. Seminal vesicle secretes a viscous fluid. What does the word viscous means? Yes, thick, and also which, yes, kind of thick. Viscous fluid containing fructose. So do you understand from where fructose comes into the semen? Right? Clearly, it cannot come from the bloodstream, because in our bloodstream we actually transport, we break down sugars into glucose, and then we absorb glucose from the digestive tract and put it inside cells, all the cells, right? So in the blood level we have the glucose which is being transported and being distributed to each and every cell. So but sperms rely on fructose. So that fructose is secreted by these seminal vesicles which are present in the reproductive system, and only sperm relies on fructose, so no other system requires fructose. Is it clear?
Yes.
So seminal vesicle secretes fructose. Next point, write down. You can just continue that fructose is the source of energy for sperm, but you have written that already, right? Write down the second thing it secretes. It secretes fructose. It also secretes prostaglandins. Very important. It has been asked. Prostaglandins. And what does prostaglandins do? It contributes to the motility and viability, which is the health of the sperm, motility of and viability of the sperm. So prostaglandins keep a sperm healthy. So when we say it is a healthy sperm, we mean that it is very, very vigorously motile and it is viable. Like it can 10 out of 10 times it will be able to fertilize the ovum. So that's a very, very viable sperm. A non-viable sperm is which is unable to fertilize the ovum. Even if it touches the ovum, it will not be able to fertilize. So there are many factors in viability. You cannot reach to ovum because you are not good with motility, or you are slower than others, or you die. You cannot tolerate acidic environment well and you die. So whatever makes you not reach and fertilize the ovum, whatever makes the sperm not reach and fertilize the ovum is counted in its non-viable, like non-viability. So prostaglandins are the chemicals which keep the sperm motile and viable. Motility and viability. Third thing which it secretes is proteins, or you can write down these proteins cause they are not like the nutritious proteins, they are a different kind of proteins. These proteins cause slight coagulation. What is coagulation? Slight coagulation reaction. Yes, Atif. What is coagulation?
Clotting.
It's kind of, yes, clotting or forming clumps, or it's like when milk converts into curd, it slowly coagulates and become denser. You understand? From complete liquid to going into a jelly like state is called coagulation. Okay. Clotting is where it clots like 100%, it becomes solidified. So clotting is important for wound healing, but it does not coagulate to such an extent where it clots, but it becomes more thicker after ejaculation. So write down. So these proteins cause slight coagulation reaction in the semen after ejaculation. These proteins are not active before ejaculation because they are only secreted as a part of semen from seminal vesicles when ejaculation needs to happen. So after ejaculation, they start making the semen slightly thicker and slightly jelly-like, because that helps the sperm while they are moving. Now you cannot clot it together because otherwise they will not move there. But when they are moving, it keeps them in a protected, dense environment from the rest of the environment in which it is present. You understand? On the basis of density. So upon coagulation, the density of semen is more than water or something around it, where it can keep itself protected to some extent. You understand the biology and chemistry behind it, behind the coagulation? Yes? Okay. So these are the three important things: fructose, prostaglandins, and coagulation proteins secreted by seminal vesicles. And you can write down seminal vesicles make up, the last point, seminal vesicle make up around 60% of the total semen. So it is the most important gland. 60% of the total semen is contributed by seminal vesicles. Next is prostate. Is seminal vesicle clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Write down. Prostate, it's one single gland. It's not present in pair, and it's located single located below the urinary bladder or located inferior to the urinary bladder, located just below the urinary bladder. Okay. What does this secretes? Write down. It secretes thin, milky colored, thin, milky colored. Now this the color in semen, like it's not completely transparent and it's also not opaque. It is slightly dusky, translucent fluid, and this duskiness comes from this secretion from prostate. So it secretes thin, milky color and alkaline. This is the most important point. Alkaline fluid. Okay. And what does this fluid does is this basically does both things. It makes the semen alkaline, it increases the pH, of semen, so it keeps it alkaline and improves motility of sperm. Okay. About prostate, you should know that it's a gland associated with the prostate cancer is one of the most prevalent form of cancers in males, which can only happen in male. Like apart from the normal common cancers that can happen in both male and females, the cancers which can only happen in males or are associated with the reproductive system, in this prostate is the most prevalent one. Okay, so you can write this point. Prostate cancer is the most prevalent form of male cancers. Just you should know this. You know which is the most prevalent form of cancer in females?
Breast cancer?
Yes, it is breast cancer. You know what is the gene, because we just started this, what is the gene associated with, like which we know that is associated with cancer? The first and the most studied gene which induces cancer, if that gene goes wrong, that gene is known BRCA1. This is the name of the gene. You know where it was first found? Where it was first discovered? It was discovered in BR for breast and CA for cancer. This does not mean that BRCA gene is only present in females. It's also present in males. Even though males do not have breast cancer, it's very rare because we do not have developed mammary glands for breasts. But you understand this BRCA1? So it was identified from there, so they named it breast cancer 1. Okay, it's also associated with other cancers. What is cancer basically? This because we are discussing it, just a tip of what is cancer. In the beginning of this chapter, we discussed about melanin, right? That why blacks or dark colored skin is more, it tolerates UV radiation better than fair skinned people. Remember that discussion, everyone?
Yes.
Yes. So there we discussed that UV radiation can cause skin cancer. So what is cancer as a disease? What is it? Biologically, what is happening in cancer? Like in tuberculosis, you know that there is a infection by the bacterium tuberculosis. What happens in cancer?
Cells of one part of the body grow up normally.
And what do you mean by abnormal growth? What is normal growth?
So like it grows more faster than usual.
No, it grows faster in the sense it grows uncontrollably in an uncontrollable manner is one point. And about the speed, I think it may be slightly faster, but what do we mean by controlled growth? If you understand that, then we can understand what is uncontrolled growth. Like at every point of time in our body, we are having some repair, wear and tear, growth happening, right? Of cells. Division is happening, right? Yes or no? We are constantly making blood cells, RBCs, because RBCs after 120 days they die, right? Their age is 120 days, around 3 months. So after 3 months, every RBC needs to be replaced by another incoming new RBC. So we are constantly regenerating our nail, hair. We are constantly producing skin cells. So all that is controlled growth. So what is uncontrolled growth? Yes, Atif. Anifa, any idea?
I'm not sure, sir. I only like know the statement about cancer. I don't really know like the details.
Even if you do not know, you don't have to worry. What do you think? Why? What is a controlled growth and what is an uncontrolled growth? As the name suggests, just give me your ideas. Hanifa, Tania, Heba.
Which the one is control?
Sorry, what? Hanifa, come again.
Which can't be controlled?
Which can't be controlled? Okay, so one common thing about cancers is there are always tumors associated with cancers, right? Have you heard this?
Yes,
If it is a cancer in the brain or in any other organ, there is a tumor associated. In blood cancer, we do not see tumor because blood is a liquid tissue, right? It is not a solid tissue. So there we see increase in number of the cell. Now because it's not solid, so it does not form a tumor. But tumor is associated. And what is tumor? Tumor is when cells stop understanding. So there is a property of contact inhibition in cells. I'm just telling you certain advanced things that you should know for your entrances. So you know that what is the property of contact inhibition? What does the word says? Contact inhibition. Can you tell me what does it means? You do not have to know it or remember it or mug it up. Contact inhibition. What does these two words mean? People, contact inhibition. These are two English terms. What do we mean by contact? Coming in contact, right? Touching each other is contact. And what is inhibition? Inhibition is to inhibit something, to stop something, right? So all the cells in our body, how do we manage to maintain our shape and the shape of every organ is because whenever the cells come in contact, so they are growing and dividing and there is a wound, some cells are lost from some place. So have you seen that if, let me draw one. So let's say this is an arm and someone got a wound, a cut like this. So the cells got lost from that area and then cells will start dividing, fill this area up and they will just stop, right? They will just fill that area and they will not keep dividing because if they still keep dividing, they will break the layer and emerge out as a tumor. Do you understand? So every cell has to understand that the cell which is present in the vicinity, in the adjacent, when both the cell membranes meet, then they stop growing, they stop dividing. That is called the property of contact inhibition. So when they are in contact, they inhibit each other's growth. Do you understand this, everyone? Normally? So this property of contact inhibition is lost in the case of cancerous cells, and the cell cycle becomes uncontrollable. It's not regulated properly. So you have studied mitosis and meiosis, right? For this, I told you to study meiosis, and you have studied mitosis in your junior classes, correct, everyone?
Yes.
Yes. So you know that cell cycle has various checkpoints, like you have studied interphase, metaphase, like prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase. Remember all this studying in class 11th, 10th about cell cycle?
Yes.
Yes. So all these phases have checkpoints. So some chemicals keep a check that whatever is happening in the right controlled manner, in the right timing. So when these checkpoints go haywire, that is a cancerous state. So the cells constantly keep utilizing glucose and constantly keep dividing. So my question is, this is an entrance question from AIMS. If you have to figure out the location of cancer in any organ of the body, which marker you will be looking at? So what will you first look at? If you have, because internally you can, if you cannot see a tumor yet, but you know that cancer is there, it's spreading. So how will you figure out where in the body cancer is happening or occurring? Ideas, please. How can you identify a cancer, growing cancer? It's not visible as a tumor. What will the cancer cells be doing different from other cells that you can look at or you can figure out? Atif, you cannot look because you are going to become doctors, no? Any idea? No idea? Tanya? No idea how to figure out cancers in body? Am I audible at all?
Yes, sir.
Yes, then you can at least say no, no idea. It's still an answer so that I can move.
No, sir, no idea.
Okay. I told you already that, let me push you towards an idea. I told you already that they are dividing rapidly and they are dividing constantly throughout without stopping, without they lost the property of contact inhibition. So such a vigorous division might require lots of energy, right? You need to put more energy. Yes, Atif?
No, nothing, sir. Continue, sir.
Okay. So you need more energy, right? So cancer cells needs more and more energy because they need more and more glucose, because to produce the same amount of ATPs, remember studying electron transport chain and glycolysis pathway in class 11? If you have studied that part carefully, someone must have told you there that this efficient way of making ATPs is diminished in cancer cells, and to make the same amount of energy required for division, cancer cells require more glucose per ATP. Okay, so if they're utilizing more glucose, and if we can tag glucose, like we can make it traceable, then we will see that which organ or which tissue is utilizing the most amount of glucose more than the normal tissues. Do you understand? It's like where most of the glucose is going. So we know that for every tissue there is a rate of glucose consumption, a normal physiological rate of glucose consumption. Rate is utilizing glucose per time. Do you understand, everyone? So you look at glucose consumption rate, and the tissue which shows very heightened or hyper glucose consumption rate is more prone to be a cancerous tissue. Is it clear, everyone? Atef, Hanifa, Dania, Hiba.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So why did we start? Yes. Now we started with cancers. Okay. Now come to the third gland. Write down. Third one is bulbourethral gland. Now, bulbourethral gland. The name suggests something. It's called bulbourethral. So one thing is clear that it is somewhere near urethra, like it's present at the beginning, like in the initial part of the urethra. Okay. So let me go back to the figure and let's see this gland where it is located. Can you see where the bulbourethral glands are located? You see this? These two tiny bulb-like structures, bud-like structures. And this is where the urethra is starting. And it goes all the way till here, right? Almost the length of the penis. So just at the root, at the beginning of the urethral gland is present bulbourethral gland. Is it clear, everyone? So that's why it's called bulbo, because it's like bulb and it's present at the beginning of urethral gland. So write down bulbourethral gland. They are one pair, present in a pair, and they are also known. Some questions you will find written Cowper's gland. They are also known as Cowper's gland. They are one pair. And located near the base of the penis or the root of the penis. They are one pair and located near the base or root of the penis. Write down what do they secrete. Before this point, just write down one more point. These glands start secreting. These glands start secreting. So these are the first glands that start secretion. Okay, much before ejaculation happens. So bulbourethral glands are the first glands that start secreting. So these glands start secreting in response to sexual stimulation or also known as sexual arousal. Okay, so the question is, which gland is the first one to secrete under sexual stimulation? Then you will choose bulbourethral. Okay, but in series, which is the first gland which comes when it has to make a semen? Sorry, which one? Atif, which one?
Seminal vesicle.
Yes, seminal vesicle. Okay, but in function, like when the process is happening, the sexual act is there, bulbourethral glands are the first. So, and their secretions, write down. What do they secrete? They secrete alkaline mucus like substance. And what is the role of mucus inside a human body? So mucus you will find almost everywhere. It lines the internal lining of the human, all the tracts. Our nasal passage is lined with mucus. Our epiglottis, our food digestive passage is lined with mucus. Our stomach is lined with mucus. Remember what protects stomach from the HCl which is present in the stomach? It is mucus, right? So it has protective as well as lubricating functions in a human system. Do you understand? Small intestine, large intestines, all are lubricated with mucus, all the tracts. So bulbourethral glands produces alkaline mucus like substance. Okay, and so what could be the function? Simple. Can you think of the reason? It is preparing the urethra, the passage for the upcoming ejaculation under the sexual stimulation. Now, I told you that urethra is the common passage for both sperms and urine, and the urge of urination, which is known as micturition, it happens multiple times a day, right? But ejaculation is not that frequent. That's why mostly that urethral lining is acidic most of the time. Like every time it is more likely to be acidic because urine is constantly passing through that passage multiple times a day. Yes or no? Do you understand the logic, people? No one is speaking these days. What happened?
Yes, sir.
Yes, you understand?
Yes, sir.
If it is acidic most of the times, then just before ejaculation, there you have to make sure that it is not acidic. Otherwise, sperms, if they come into contact with the acidic environment, you will lose a lot of sperms in the male system itself. So if you have 300 million sperms per ejaculation, if you are losing a lot of it in the male system, by the time it is transferred into the female system, it will be less in number to be able to go and fertilize the ovum. So that will be a condition like oligospermia, but you made quite a significant number of sperms. But so that's why you do not want to lose it in male system. So for that, bulbourethral glands secrete a alkaline and mucus-like substance, which has two functions. Write down. It makes the urethral passage alkaline. It makes the urethral passage alkaline. And second point, it also lubricates the passage. It also lubricates the passage. And the penis. And the penis for the sexual intercourse. For the sexual intercourse. So these are the two functions. Also, the secretions from bulbourethral glands, because they are predominantly alkaline, they become a part of the semen, and they also neutralize the acidity in a female tract and protect the sperm there also. So write down. It also neutralizes the acidity. It also neutralizes the acidity in the female tract. In the female tract to protect the sperms there. To protect the sperm there. Okay. Is it clear, everyone? Shall I move forward? Yes. Okay. Now write down semen in the end. What is semen? It's also written in books as seminal fluid because it's predominantly produced from the seminal vesicles. So it's called seminal fluid or semen. So write down. It is the fluid ejaculated during the sexual arousal. It is the fluid ejaculated during the sexual arousal. Which contains sperm. Which contains sperms.
Can you repeat the sentence?
It is the fluid ejaculated during the sexual arousal or there's a word used for this. When ejaculation takes place, it's known as orgasm. This is the pinnacle of sexual arousal. At that point of time, semen is ejaculated containing sperms. It's slightly alkaline. Viscous. Viscous fluid. So basically all these glands were reaching up to forming this fluid. Okay. So all the three glands are clear to you: seminal vesicles, prostate, and bulbourethral, the male system.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Written. So shall I move forward?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
We have studied about penis. So we started with the secondary sexual organ, which was the penile structure. Then we went on to study testes, which is the primary reproductive organ, and spermatogenesis. Then we discussed the glands associated. So what is left? What is left is the ducts. Ducts of testis. Remember, inside the testis there are many ducts, which is retitestis, vasa efferentia, all these ducts. Seminiferous tubule. So you know already about seminiferous tubule, that is the site where spermatogenesis happens, right? But let's talk about ducts now. First duct, write down, is important is. Did I tell you about Sertoli cells before telling about the ducts? We have discussed Sertoli cells, right? You've also written it. Yes. Have you written about Sertoli cells? This. Yes, you have written. So write down now. Epididymis. This is a very important duct. Epididymis. It is some books call it as a crescent organ, some call it as a comma shaped organ. So you can write it as a comma shaped or crescent. It's sitting at the top of the testis and it covers, it's like a lining on one side. So it's comma shaped or crescent shaped organ, which is about 4 centimeters. Centimeter in length. Write down. Functionally, the most important point is what is the function. So functionally, so these questions are asked about the site. So what is the site of spermatogenesis? Quickly, tell me. Site.
Seminiferous tubule.
Perfect. What is the site of fertilization in humans? That we have not studied yet.
Fallopian tube.
Yes, inside the fallopian tube also there is a region called ampulla. So ampulla is the site of fertilization in fallopian tube. Yes. Now what is the site of sperm maturation? That is epididymis. Okay, so all these different questions which comes with respect to site of this. What is the site of splitting of water in photosynthesis? That was a question. What is the site of photosynthesis? So remember thylakoid membranes, plant class 11th you must have remembered, right? There are thylakoid membranes in the chloroplast. Yes. So the inner membrane of that is the site of photosynthesis. So these site-like things, what is the site of electron transport chain? Inner membrane of mitochondria. What is the site of glycolysis? Atif, Hanifa, anyone? Where does glycolysis happens? In a cell. Quick. Site of glycolysis. Where does glycolysis happens? You have studied glycolysis, right? In class 11th. Where does it happen? Any idea? No idea? It happens in cytoplasm.
No, sir, I don't.
It happens in cytoplasm, okay? Because glycolysis is common for prokaryotes as well as eukaryotes. Now in prokaryotes, we do not have a nucleus, a well-defined nucleus or mitochondria, both, right? But still glycolysis happens. So it does happens in the cytoplasm. What is the site of protein synthesis in a cell? So you have to look at these things. So whenever you are studying anything in biology, always remember when I am telling that this thing is happening, question that where it is happening, the site type of questions I have seen a lot in entrances or previous year's paper if you go and look at it. So write down functionally, epididymis is the site of sperm maturation. Site of sperm maturation. Write down sperms, newly formed sperms newly formed sperms undergo maturation in epididymis where they acquire motility and viability. So this is where they acquire it. And remember, the secretions of seminal vesicles and all other glands enhance it. Do you understand the difference between the two? Everyone, say yes or no.
Yes, sir.
So in the seminiferous tubules, they are formed, sperms are formed, and the maturation part which we study there, it's about the structure. So they get a tail, they get a head, they get an acrosome. So they are a mature sperm. But the functional maturity is acquired in epididymis, where they acquire motility and viability. And that motility and viability, as they move out of the epididymis and goes through the vas deferens, then the secretion from seminal vesicle, prostate, and bulbourethral enhances that motility and viability. Is it clear? Yes? No confusion in the process. So you have to read the question carefully before answering it. So write down, what have you written? Sorry, again, someone has to repeat the last thing. Atif, what have you written just now?
The newly formed sperms undergo maturation in epididymis where they acquire motility and viability.
Yes, where they acquire motility and viability over a period of 14 days. Over a period of 14 days, around 14 days. So maturation process occurs 14 days. So around 2 weeks, the sperm stays in epididymis and acquires all these abilities and capabilities in motility. Okay. some question has come on other ducts as well. Write down vas deferens. So epididymis is clear. Now next duct is vas deferens. It emerges from epididymis. It emerges from the end of epididymis. And is less convoluted. And is less convoluted. Yes, Atif, you have a question?
No, sir.
And is less convoluted than the ducts of epididymis. So epididymis in itself, it's a duct-like structure, but it has towards the end, it also has ducts. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Yes. So look at this figure here. So you see this epididymis, a comma or a crescent shaped organ. Keep saying yes or no, people.
Yes, sir.
This part are lobules, as I told you. Let's mention all of this. Then you have seminiferous tubules. In each lobule, there is 1 to 3 seminiferous tubules, 1 to 4 seminiferous tubules. And then you reach this part, which is a network-like structure known as retetestis. Right? Then after retetestis, you see that these are very, very convoluted ducts. Even here, if you see till here, till this point, you see the duct is very convoluted, means it's very coiled like, it's coiled. Can you see the coiling pattern?
Yes.
And also it's very coiled here. So these small ducts are called vasa efferentia. So vasa efferentia is also very convoluted, and the ducts of epididymis is also very convoluted. So this part is called ductus epididymis. Ductus epididymis. I write it here. It's called ductus epididymis. So it is less. So from this part onward, you see that the convolution is less, right? Where my cursor is hovering right now. You see that the convolution is becoming lesser and lesser, and it's becoming more straightened now. So this is where the vas deferens start. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
So write down vas deferens. It is less convoluted, and the diameter is more than the ducts of epididymis. Like the diameter also starts increasing. Now, there is a region in male system also. It has been asked, and it's a very confusing question. I've seen, like, I also, as a student, missed this. So, but look here. In a female reproductive, in a fallopian tube, the region where bend happens. So, we will discuss female system in the next class, but if you can vaguely remember the structure of the female reproductive system, so you see that there is a uterus and there are two tubes going towards left and right towards both the ovaries, right? You're getting this remembrance of the structure, everyone? So at the
Can you
jump,
repeat?
I'm asking that if you remember female reproductive system, the structure of it, there is a uterus in the middle, a big structure, which is also called the womb after pregnancy, which holds the pregnancy. And from the uterus, there are two tubes going towards left and right, fallopian tubes, right?
Yes, sir.
Then they bend at a region, and they go towards the ovary, which is just below the fallopian tube. Remember? So the
Yes,
region
sir.
where there is a bend in the fallopian tube, there is a bend in the tube, is called ampulla in the fallopian tube. Similarly, in vas deferens, the region which is the widest is the region where this bend occurs. Okay. This region is also known as ampulla. So ampulla is actually present both in male and female. Okay. So don't get confused. Most of the time books talk about the female ampulla region because that is the site of fertilization. In males, ampulla is a part of vas deferens where it turns, where it is bending, and which is the most widest part of the vas deferens. So you can write down the diameter of ampulla is the highest in vas deferens, like biggest diameter. Do you understand clearly both the ampullas? You will not be confused now. Yes. So you can write down the dilated end part of vas deferens. The dilated end part of vas deferens is known as ampulla. Is known as ampulla. AMPULLA. And write down the function of this is functionally vas deferens conveys the sperms or transports the sperms from epididymis to urethra, from epididymis to urethra during sexual arousal. During sexual arousal. Now, one interesting thing you have to understand here is sperms have the motility, right? I told you after they come out of epididymis, they can move. Yes or no? Yes or no? They can move, right? But they can move very swiftly inside a fluid. Like there is some fluid in vas deferens also, but it is not the semen yet. Because after vas deferens, all the glands start. So no gland is secreting in vas deferens. Is it clear? Atif, Hanifa, Dania, everyone is clear? Yes. That no gland is secreting in the vas deferens. So if they are not secreting in the vas deferens, the motility factor is not enhanced. The sperms are not very motile on like themselves inside the vas deferens, right? That's why they cannot just move into urethra at their will whenever the sperms want. So vas deferens have to do this transport for them. Once they start coming towards urethra and they meet with seminal fluid from the seminal vesicle, they meet with the prostate fluid and the bulbourethral fluid, they enhance the motility. Now they can start swimming vigorously. Okay. It's like a fish kept in a closed small container with some fluid in it. Now that fish can survive there, can stay there. So when you buy a fish from somewhere and you bring it home, you bring it like in some minimal amount of water in which it can survive, right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
It's not vigorously moving in that small amount of water. But when you put it in an aquarium or a big tank, it starts moving because now there is lots of fluid which is enhancing its motility. Similar thing happens for sperms. When they are in vas deferens, they are compactly packed together, you know. And if they have to go into urethra and meet with the semen, the fluid, and become more motile, they have to be transferred by vas deferens. And vas deferens is nothing but a tube-like structure, right? So any tube, like when it has to push things inside it, transport it forward, what does it do in your body? Anyone remembering any other tract that pushes things forward in our body? Any tract that push things forward in our body? I can think of blood vessels as one. Blood vessels push constantly blood, right? in one direction in our body, right?
Yes.
But that motion is not mostly because of the blood vessel. It is because of the heart, because it pumps with pressure, so blood flows in arteries. And in the veins, you know that to prevent backflow, they have valves, right? But any other system where you think that the push is coming from that tube only?
The digestive tract.
Perfect. And how does a digestive tract pushes food forward?
Peristalsis.
Beautiful. Exactly what it happens in vas deferens. So write down, vas deferens undergo peristaltic contractions. Vas deferens undergo peristaltic contractions to push the sperm into the urethra. Push the sperms into the urethra. So do you appreciate now, Atif, that basically the logic of biology is same, right? If you want a tube-like structure to do this function, you have to make it peristaltic, like to be able to contract in a peristaltic manner, right?
Yes,
Whether
sir.
it is a digestive tract or whether it is a reproductive tract. Yes. So structure in biology is for function, you know. Whatever kind of a function you want to achieve, you will make that kind of a structure. So any structure in body is for function. Okay. Good. So vas deferens is clear. Next, come to spermatic cord is one thing. I'm just telling you what are these things. Spermatic cord. So there is something called spermatic cord or spermatic duct. And there is another thing called ejaculatory duct, about which we studied just above. So first write about spermatic cord. Spermatic cord is the supporting structure. Spermatic cord is the supporting structure that ascends out of testes. Sorry, ascends out of scrotum, not testis. Remember what is scrotum? Yes, Anifa? The sac-like structure outside the abdominal wall, right?
Yes.
In which the testes are present. So what comes out of the scrotum? So what comes out of the testes is epididymis, then becomes vas deferens. But what comes out of the scrotum, where this vas deferens is also present, is this spermatic cord. So write down, it ascends out of the scrotum. It contains, so there are many things that, so one thing is sperm, right? Sperm has to come out of testes. And when we study spermatogenesis, we forget that testes itself is an organ. It is a dual organ. Its only job is not to produce sperms and send it out through the vas deferens into the urethra. It also requires nutrition and blood from outside. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
And it's also a dual gland. It also produces hormone. So it also gets hormonal signaling. And how do hormones send signaling? If they are endocrine glands. What are endocrine glands? Pituitary is an endocrine gland. Which glands do we call as endocrine? The glands
Without ducts.
without ducts. So if they do not have ducts, what way will they rely on to spread the message? If they do not have a duct of their own, if you do not have a vehicle of your own to commute, what will you rely on? public transport, right? So what is the public transport of our body? You put anything in it and it gets transported to some or the other place. The circulatory system, the blood circulatory system. So pituitary secretes things in blood. That blood has to reach scrotum, the testes, right? So this spermatic cord, it is called as spermatic cord, but do not get confused that it only contains sperms. No, that is why I'm telling you. So write down, spermatic cord contains or consists of, spermatic cord consists of
There is hormone. Are hormones also transported to the neural system?
through the blood.
Only through the blood?
Hormones can be transported through two ways. Either that organ has its own duct, okay, and that duct takes it from the source directly to the, secretions from glands can be transported in two ways. The secretions from endocrine glands are called hormones, okay, which are ductless. So hormones always will be transported through blood. But there are other secretions called enzymes, which are secreted by exocrine glands, like saliva. Saliva has an enzyme called salivary amylase, right?
Yes.
And where is saliva secreted from? An exocrine gland called salivary gland, which are 3 pairs present in our cheek, like somewhere here. So if you cover your cheek with your hand, so in this region you have all the salivary glands, one here, one below the tongue, and one at this point. So all these 3 pair, which means 6 total salivary glands, have duct, and that duct directly comes into the buccal cavity. So all your saliva is directly secreted into the buccal cavity, not in the bloodstream. Is it clear? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Similarly, enzymes like pancreatic enzymes. Remember, studying digestive system, pancreas produces lots of amylase, peptidases, all the digestive enzymes, right?
Yes, sir.
All those enzymes are secreted in the duodenum region of the small intestine, which is just after the stomach. There is a bent curve shape of the intestine, which is called duodenum. So they secrete everything directly there, not in the bloodstream. But many other things are secreted directly in the bloodstream. Okay, hormones are one of them. Okay, Atif, is it clear to you?
Yes, sir. Clear.
So write down, spermatic cord consists of vas deferens, testicular artery. What is an artery? What is an artery? How will you
Blood
define?
vessels that carry oxygenated blood from heart to the organs.
But that is not a good definition for an artery. Remember, in class 11, there is one exception. If you say that all arteries carry oxygenated blood, there is one artery called as pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood because it carries blood to the lungs to get oxygenated. Remember pulmonary artery, pulmonary vein?
Yes, sir.
It's a very common question where students make mistake. So pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood, oxygenated blood, semi-oxygenated, both deoxygenated and oxygenated blood, none of the above. Then often they see the word artery, they choose oxygenated blood, and it's a wrong answer. So saying that all arteries contains oxygenated blood is not true, because pulmonary artery contains deoxygenated blood. But a more better way to define arteries are those vessels which move blood away from heart towards some other organ. Do you understand? That is always true.
Yes, sir.
And arteries are always without valves. They do not have valves, because when blood moves into arteries from the heart, it is already very much pressurized. That's why if you have to feel the pulse, you always feel it in the artery. You will never feel the pulse in a vein. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So testicular artery means it is the artery coming from the heart to the testes. And in this case, it is carrying oxygenated blood, because apart from lungs, apart from pulmonary artery, which carries deoxygenated blood to the lungs to get it oxygenated, all other arteries carries oxygenated blood. So, and spermatic cord is a kind of, have you seen that many a times there is a big cable. If you cut that cable, you will find there are multiple wires, individual wires inside that cable. One is for a telephone, one is for internet, one is for something, but as a whole they pack it as one cable which runs from one place to another. It has multiple things in it. So spermatic cord is like that cable. It has a vas deferens, and vas deferens is carrying sperms towards urethra. It has a testicular artery which is carrying blood towards the testes, and also hormones along with it, also nutrition along with it. And write down, it also carries testicular veins. Why are testicular veins important? Testicular artery is important, we understand, because they bring two things: FSH, LH, which is hormones, and nutrition. Testes also have to live, no? Their cells also have to produce energy, no? But why is testicular veins important? What are they carrying? Sperms are being carried by vas deferens. Out of testes. What are veins carrying? Where are veins going? They are going out of the testes, right?
Yes, sir.
What are they carrying? One, a very common thing, every vein carries waste product, waste of respiration. So they carry nitrogenous waste. That's one obvious common answer. What else? They carry testosterone, because testosterone needs to go out of the testes to bring all the secondary sexual characters, to make the Adam apple more prominent, to bring in facial hairs, to bring in pubic hairs, to make muscle grow. Muscles are growing, beard, mustache is growing outside of the testes in other organs. So testosterone has to reach those organs as well. So testicular veins carry testosterone. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
So we should also know what everything is carrying. Okay. And it also, apart from this, write down other things which are a part of spermatic cord: vas deferens, testicular artery, testicular vein, lymphatic vessel. What is a lymphatic vessel? Lymph system, you have heard, right?
Yes, sir.
It carries lymphatic vessels. And what else it carries? Nerves. Yes, it carries autonomic nerve. Nervous system is also present, no? Everywhere. So it carries lymphatic, autonomic nerves, and it carries cremaster muscles. Did I tell you about cremaster muscles?
Yes, sir.
Yes, what are cremaster muscles, Atif? What are cremaster muscles? You said yes. You're not telling me what are those muscles.
No, sir, you talked about it, but I forgot.
Okay. See, I have made it here. Yes. Remember cremaster muscles? I also asked you to write it. So cremaster muscles are those muscles which regulate the distance of the scrotum from the main body. So they can contract to bring the testes closer to the body. They can relax to. They actually keep a connection between a junction between the scrotum and the body. So they run through the spermatic cord. So now you realize that it is known as spermatic cord, but it is actually carrying, it's like a bundle cable. It's carrying much more than just vas deferens. So vas deferens carries sperms, but it carries testicular artery, testicular vein, lymphatic vessel, autonomic nerves, and all also the cremaster muscles. They are all together in a bundle. Okay, so this comes out of the scrotum. Is it clear, everyone?
Yes, sir.
And the two other ducts which are present, I have already told you about that: ejaculatory duct and urethra. So you already know what is ejaculatory duct. I have asked you to write it above. It is a union of vas deferens and the duct from seminal vesicle. Okay, the junction union. That's called ejaculatory duct, because if sperm reaches there, it can only be ejaculated. It cannot be sent back. That is a no point of return. And last is urethra. Just write it down. Fourth is ejaculatory duct. You have written it above. And the last is urethra. Urethra is, in urethra, they sometimes ask the length of the duct. So it is, urethra is around 18 to 20 centimeter. 18 to 20 centimeter. Just write that down. The total length of urethra is 18 to 20 centimeter. Okay. Is everything clear about the male system, people? From next class, I'll be starting female reproductive system. So please go back and revise everything that you learned about the male system. Fascinating, no? The male reproductive system is fascinating. Don't you think? Yes. Everything is clear? Any doubts? Please revise. If you have any doubts, I will take your doubts in the next class.
Okay,
And
sir.
your homework is you have to read about female. Female reproductive system is even more complex. Female reproductive system is even more complex and elaborate, because there are two things happening parallelly. It is not just about making gametes, it is also about holding pregnancy. And if they are not holding pregnancy, then undergoing menstrual cycle. So ovary and uterus are two organs which are constantly in picture there. And these two cycles are taking place together. So that we will take up in the next class. Okay, everyone?
So did you give any notes of the cremaster muscles? Like, I had some technical issues and had to leave.
No. I already told about cremaster muscles. No, you want to write again? I can tell you. You can write down.
No, sir. No, sir. It's fine. I don't.
Okay. I was saying that male reproductive system is very fascinating, right? So we read about it. So you realize that it's very fascinating. Female reproductive system is even more complex, because there are two cycles there. It's not just gamete formation there. It is also a uterine cycle, where the menstrual cycle or the pregnancy, if it holds, takes place. So we will be studying from next class the female system. So come a little prepared, read from NCERT at least, and then come to the next class with your doubts. Okay, if any.
Okay. Sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Everyone, take care.